Hey, I'm here this evening with Gary, my protester friend.
Protester friend, that's right, yeah, among other things. And well, I'll tell you what, we
went for a really nice meal today, but this leads into the other part of the hangout.
This leads into the other part. We went to a Toby Carvery, which I go there and just have like a vegan meal, which is basically just like a load of veg. And Karen, I'm trying to convert her, but she's still like a big meat eater. But
I've cut down, Gary, but I did have.
You have cut down. You did have some meat today, but we see something very strange, and we was talking about it straight away. First of all, we see some people with masks and some people without, but the strangest thing was the guy that was the chef.
This is part of the heading of the title because it's contradictory.
It's very contradictory. This is all to do with what the title states as well. Basically, we got a guy that's a chef that's working behind the counter serving meat with an exemption pass and no mask on.
But everybody else
everyone else.
Well, not just that. What it was is you used to go in and get your food, and you'd go in and you'd scoop it all onto your plate. Now you can't touch your plate till you sit down, because what it is it goes from him to another girl and then to a boy, and then the boy carries your plate over to the dinner. So you've had all these people touching your
meal anyway. So the thing is, what happens is when you order your meal, like I walked up and you got a big glass screen in front. So I said, and I couldn't make him understand. Oh, that was the best part. I said to him, I want a vegan meal. And he said to me, I think he's got to get a new job. He said, do you want any meat? I said, I'm a vegan. And the other sort of like...
Let's go on to the next picture. We've got another picture.
Yeah, we've got another picture now. But the other sort of like woman, she sort of like... She said something. She said, oh, no, he don't eat meat. Like, he's a vegan. So, but you've got a big glass screen in front. And I was trying to make them understand, which I found very difficult, because they had their blinking mask on and they had this screen as well. And
he didn't.
But he didn't. But I think he was Polish or something. He couldn't really understand me. And I said, no, I'm vegan. So they got another plate out for me, which was like a separate plate from all the others.
Yeah,
and then
it got out of another cupboard.
Out of another cupboard,
so what does
I may add.
The washing up liquid has animal fat in it.
Yeah. But anyway, you know, they sort of like guaranteed me that what I had, the vegetables, were just vegetables cooked in like vegetable oil. Now, you know, you take that as it is. I mean, some vegans would turn around and say, oh, I ain't touching that with a barge pole. But then...
Yours is a choice rather than...
Mine is a choice. Well, mine is a choice. I don't want to eat animals, but I've been vegetarian since about 1983. So for me, the transition was quite easy. It was like, it was relatively easy. But the strangest thing was, when I eventually got my meal sorted out, then another woman or a bloke has to carry your sort of like, without any gloves on, I may add, carry your dinner over to the table.
That's the bit that was missing. So he passes the plate to the woman.
So it's already changed hands about 3 or 4 times.
You can see they're not wearing gloves. This is Toby Carvery. He's passing the plate to a woman who puts the vegetables and things on, and then there's 2 of them there, so you get one or the other. Then she passes the plate to the boy, and then the boy takes it to your table.
Yeah, whereas before, like, I mean, I used to go to the Toby Carvery down near where I live, and basically you serve yourself. You pick up a plate from the end, just like school dinners, and you go along and just basically help yourself. But now they're doing it all for you, and me and Karen spotted it straight away. We just thought it's a complete contradiction. Even taking the current thing out that we can't really say, it doesn't seem that hygienic to us. Because you've got so many people breathing over your plate. You've got the master chef there, like breathing all over. He's handling meat of all things as well.
We don't believe, but we're just saying that if you believed
in what we've been told, surely like they should have stuck him in the kitchen where people can't see him handling food and giving out meat without.
What we're trying to point is the patheticness.
It's so contradictory, and there was some
like this one here.
We've got another photograph of a bloke. I had my exemption pass on.
Yeah, poor Gary's like, I don't want to do this. He might see me do it. I said, just click it. Just click it.
Yeah. But then I see another geezer like that was queuing up without an exemption pass and no mask, and nothing's being said. So it was absolutely ridiculous how sort of like, you know, nothing said. Everyone just nothing. You didn't have a mask on. You didn't even have your exemption pass, did you?
Yeah, I did.
You had your exemption pass. Did you show them?
No.
You didn't even. So
but there were a few tables sitting there with people without them, but then they all come in with like their things on. I just feel succumbed by the.
But the strangest thing is, Karen, it's like you're allowed to sort of like sit down at your table without your mask on, and as soon as you get up, you've got to put it back on again to go and have a sort of like go to the loo or something. But it's all so contradictory, and there was people opposite. Some of them had masks on and others didn't. But you know, we got one of the waitresses come over. Like,
we talked to her and she understood it. But then she said she went to look at the government stuff and she understands why she has to wear it, but she doesn't believe in it really. And it's like,
it's all so contradictory, and you know, we can't see how sort of like the sheeples and the minions, as we call them, like can't pick up on this. It's like, it's, you know, you want Fred and Frida Blogs in the street to go, hey, this is ridiculous, you know. And they're not doing it. This is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the contradictory element of this to hit home to Mr. and Mrs. Joe Public, and it's not Mr. and Mrs. Joe and Josephine Public, and it's not happening. And this is why we just find it so amazing, and we're picking up on this all the time. And I don't know. It's just so ludicrous. The whole thing in there. You had to come in one door, didn't you? Go out the other.
Yeah.
You know, there was people sort of, when you got in there, like you had your hand sanitizer, and then you know, if you had to walk this way, it was like it was very similar to sort of like being in worse than a prison. To be honest with you, it's very military like, and you know, I don't eat out that much. We had a curry last night, which was takeaway, which was lovely because it was just like we went in and picked it up and come home. But this one was like so regimental.
Oh, sorry, I've lost the pictures. Hang on. Anyway, it just seems to like you've got all these rules and everything, but most things contradict it.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, we want ordinary people now to sort of like say something. You know, we all know it, but we want ordinary. Well, you know, listen, we're all the human race. What I'm saying is, people that are unawakened, we want them to sort of like pick up and chirp up. This is what we can't believe, because this guy like with the exemption pass on, you know, it's going to come to the point where you're going to get.
Everybody wore those, but nobody
well,
wear them.
If you got to the point where you've got some people in there that's terrified of this, you know, the fear porn has really worked for them. They're going to say, I don't want that bloke serving me with meat, because he's standing there like breathing all over the meat like, and he's putting his COVID all over it.
And where does it stop? Because it doesn't stop here. What about all the people that breathed all over the food? Then they've got to get it from the supermarket. Then that person's probably breathed all over it. Then it goes in the kitchens and they're breathing all over it.
So what we're saying is like we can't see how people can't see the contradictions. And shall I go now to my little escapade?
Okay, will we finish this one? So we're not having a go at him.
No, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. Basically, we just said like, you know, how ridiculous it is that sort of like this allowed to happen, and other people are not picking up on it. Basically, this is what we're saying. You know, maybe they should. You think his manager should say, "Oh, look, I'm going to stick you. I know you don't like it, but I'm going to stick you in the kitchen."
I mean, this really all he's doing is being normal.
Yeah, he's being normal,
but with all the rules and regs,
it's a complete.
What do you call it?
It's a contradiction of everything, and like what we've been told. If people are abiding by what we've been told, I mean, you know, it's all right for, am I allowed to say, there's a certain person that snogged someone's face off, and like, you know, they were still trying.
At least he's gone. Well, one of them gone.
Well, he's gone now. But the thing is, he's trying to talk himself out of it. You know, people should be screaming from the rooftops, and I know like a lot of them were, but there was actually people standing up for him and saying like, "Oh, leave him alone," like, you know, it's nothing to do with anything. What, you know. And it's like me and Karen, like about a year ago, we said, do you remember when we was down Hyde Park? And we said, let's have a bit of a laugh and a joke about this. It was when the lockdown was on, and we was making out having a kiss.
I'm here with my wife.
Yeah, I'm here with my wife. Like we made out was having a kiss and a cuddle, which was having a good old cuddle.
It wasn't me. It was someone else.
Yeah. Okay. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Karen. It was someone. Well, anyway, the policewoman come over and said to us, Are you in a relationship? And said yes. And then she said, are you cohabiting? And I said no. And she said, well, you're not allowed to do that. I said, so you are joking? She said no. She said, if you was cohabiting, you're quite happily sort of like can stay there as a couple, but because you're not cohabiting, you've got to go sort of like 2 metres apart, which we found hilarious. And when we told people this story, it's a shame.
You know what? That meeting was so different than yesterday because the police waded in and there was problems then.
Well, the police waded in the last time, but they couldn't do yesterday because of the numbers. We had numbers personified. I mean, you're talking about upwards of like a million people.
We stopped London!
We stopped London, and it was great. The whole of Oxford Street come to a complete halt.
I bet you won't find that. And if you do, that'll be the only thing that's mentioned.
That's right. That's right.
If they do mention it, they won't
and
mention
you're not going to see it on mainstream, I wouldn't imagine. Or they're going to say
you're not going to get the press going, oh dear, look at how many people don't agree.
Or there's about they're going to say there's about 100 people there, you know. But no, this is it. This video is all about the basic contradictions of it all, and people not picking up on it. You know, I know we all can, like, you know, we can, but most of us can pick up on this. But it's the ridiculous nature of the contradictions. That's about it.
I think
really.
People don't think, because when you do think, you realise everything's much different than you thought it was.
Well, we see things all the time.
Is it because we're so trusting?
Well, some people just
like,
trust in authority.
You said your sister's lovely. She believes in it, but she's a lovely person. But she's turned around and she said to you, no, they're not doing that because she's a nice person and wouldn't do it. So she can't see that anybody else would do it.
Yeah. I think the thing is, you see, this is what the problem is. Some people are so, and you know, I've loads of people in my family. They're lovely people. I love them to bits and all that. But I think a lot of people judge people on what they're like themselves, Karen, and they don't believe that people could do this kind of thing. And I think this is what we're dealing with.
So they believe. So when they say all these things to us, they believe it, and they believe what they're being told.
Yeah, because they don't, or they might tell little white lies.
That's what it is for a lot of the people out there.
I think this is what the trouble is. And the thing is, they'll have an answer for that. If you turn around to someone and said, excuse me.
I mean, you imagine the media push for this.
You know, so
you can see why people are going to believe it, because the media will be doing it, the adverts are doing it, everybody's doing it in front of them, saying where, and all these rules and regulations. So they're going to believe it.
But the strangest thing was, the other woman, I couldn't hear her. She was talking to me, like, and I think she was Lithuanian or Polish. The other woman further down.
What, at the restaurant?
Yeah, at the restaurant, and she had to take her mask down to sort of like talk to me, because it was so muffled with the glass screen in front. In the end, she has pulled down her mask, and we got close enough, like we could have had a bleeding snog. You know, it was. I thought it was good enough for Matt Hancock. It's good enough for a certain person. It's good enough for me. But the strangest thing is, you know, I really couldn't hear her. I really couldn't hear what she was saying, because the combination of the glass screen, the language barrier, plus her mask on, so she ended up pulling it down anyway. So.
Okay, should we go on to the next bit now?
Yeah. So.
1 second. Because what it did is, the meal thing is a bit sort of linked into this bit about you going away.
Well, yeah. I mean, a few weeks ago, I went over to Portugal with some friends of mine to also see some of my truther friends over in Portugal as well. Like my very best, one of my very best pals, the same as Karen.
Watch what you're saying, sitting next to me.
Yeah, Cosmic Cat.
She's lovely.
Cosmic Cat and Jack over there, among a few other people. And I thought, I can kill two birds with one stone. Originally, we was going to Antigua in the West Indies, but that went to an amber listing. So the friends I went with, they decided to sort of like go to Portugal, and I thought, how fantastic, you know, Faro. I can see. I used to do a lot of property minding over there, and looking out of people's animals and whatever. And I thought, I can do the rounds. Like, we've got 2 weeks. It's on the green list, so no problem whatsoever. I've first got to get over there, and I thought, my God, you know, how difficult is this going to be? Because every time you go, it seems to be more and more difficult. Unfortunately, folks, I've got to tell you, I had to have. Which, you know, some people thought I was bonkers. I had to have a PCR test, but I sort of like bluffed the first one. What I actually did, like, I sort of like didn't stick it up my ooter, and I made out to put it in my mouth. And the bloke said to me, "You can get an inconclusive if you don't do it properly." And I thought, well, you know, pup or bust, I'll try it. Anyway, I got a negative result. But then you got to do this thing called a passenger locator form, which is, put it this way, unless you're pretty good with computers, no, and honestly, unless you're reasonably good, above average level on a smartphone, don't even dream of going away. I know most of you are.
You might like to do things differently, go in the shop or do it other ways. I myself have to do sometimes
Yeah,
things
yeah,
on the computer,
yeah,
so there are forms and things
yeah,
on
yeah.
there.
Well,
But not you're noticing. Well, there's a lot of elderly people who are not
well,
into all
this
this.
is what it is. I'm saying, like, you always get one person in your group, and lucky enough, one of my other friends, like her daughter, she's an absolute genius, like, so she helps us along with any of the thing. But you have to amalgamate your passenger locator form with your COVID test. You have all these code numbers they send from the government. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we managed to get it all sorted out on the way over there, and we got to the airport. Now I thought, I wonder how I could get away with like my exemption pass, Karen. And anyway, I got to the airport and I got all the way through. No one said a word to me. And when we went up to sort of like actually get on the plane, the last little bit where you show your boarding pass, she said to me, "Where's your mask?" And I said, "I've got an exemption pass." And she said, "Have you got a doctor's letter?" And I said, "Well, you can't ask me that. It's not within your jurisdiction to ask me about that. Only the fact that I've got my exemption pass, because it's like the Data Protection Act." And you know, she sort of like went right over her head kind of thing. And anyway, she said, "Yeah," she said, "when you get on the plane, they might insist that you wear a mask." And I walked up the stairs, and I just turned around and said to the woman, "I've got an exemption pass." And she said, "Fine, go and sit down." And there was one other lad who sort of like had a lanyard as well, but he left it in his case. And they turned around and said, "Well, no, you haven't got it on. You've got to wear a mask." And all the way through the flight, he was getting grief because he was taking his mask down. But it was crazy, really, because that's the most ridiculous part.
Yeah,
Now this is the
you're
contradictions.
sitting there without one, so actually it's ridiculous.
But no, this is the contradictions. Now this is what we call this particular video, contradictions. All the way over there, right? All we was getting from the, I don't know, the stewardess and the pilot, or maybe the co-pilot, was keep on social distancing while you're in the flight. And it was an EasyJet flight, and it was absolutely packed solid.
Oh,
it was like every single
Gary, we'll just put it on EasyJet.
Every single flight, every single seat was taken on that flight, and you kept on getting. And even some of the people I went with that don't know none of the kind of things we do, folks, we were looking at each other going like, what the hell is he on about? And then when we landed, like the same thing again. When we landed at Faro, oh, keep on social distancing, and we're packed in it. We know what them flights are like. You're packed in like sardines.
Isn't that the same there when they tell you on the tube and everything?
Well, it's the same thing on the tube. And so anyway,
wherever you go, if you're on the bus.
So this is what we're saying, the contradictions. So anyway, when we got off of the plane at Faro, I got down so I've got all the way over there without wearing a mask. And when I've gone into the building, anyway, at this particular time, the air traffic controllers had a big row with the Portuguese government, and they pretty much laid them all off in one fair swoop. I don't know whether temporarily.
While you were there?
Just before, and the police were taking it over. So the thing is, they didn't have a clue what was going on. There was like a load of headless chickens, you know, and there was a big queue. When we got up there, all bottlenecks. I don't know if any of you lot have been to Faro Airport, but you know that it bottlenecks into sort of like all these different flights coming in. You haven't got all them sort of like them Eve sort of like passport ones over there. Basically, you got to go through the passport control, and it was just bottlenecks. And there was a few people. Oh, that was it. The security guy came up to me and said, "Oh, can you put a mask on?" And I said, "I've got an exemption." And he said, "Oh no, other people are complaining, saying like, where's that bloke's mask?" So under much duress, I thought, oh well, I'll make out I'm doing it, and I've put it on and took it back off again. But when I got to the border and showed my passport, the customs bloke said to me, he said, "That don't work over here. You're going to get a €200 fine." So I shrugged my shoulders and said, "Whatever, mate," you know, and I just walked through. And then when we got on the on the little minibus to take us where we were staying, you know, all the people I went with like had their masks on, and I still didn't. But when we got to I just noticed that everyone over there, they are very conformist over there. From the days of in the 70s, a guy called Tavares or something. That sounds like a group, doesn't it? He ran the place with pretty much like a rod of iron, and like Franco did with Spain. And
so we're all sort of a bit communisty.
Yeah, it was a communist place in the 60s and 70s, but it's not now. But unfortunately, it's instilled into them that whatever the government tells them to do, they have to do. So of course, it wasn't mask free. Pretty much everybody had masks on, little old ladies, anything, you know, ones that are pulling their mask down like,
Were
and
you a
having a
bit
fag.
shocked?
Well, yes, it was quite. I mean, it's completely
It
different
feels
over here.
overpowering, doesn't it, when
Yeah,
all these people coming towards you with these...
and I never met anyone
And
that
you know
got
what that means? Everyone that you see... Well, I know it might feel a bit different because what you've said about Portugal, but when they all come towards you, I just think they all believe, so I don't talk
The
to
thing is, I can't speak about other countries because I haven't been anywhere apart from there since. I'll tell a lie. I did go to Greece halfway
Yeah,
through.
you're always going away.
Yeah, that was quite so bad. But I found Portugal tend to be quite sort of like obedient about it, you know, like the Portuguese people.
Look at that, Gary.
But
Nice, easy jets.
but anyway, so we had a nice holiday, and I must admit, I had a good time over there because when you go on the beach
Got
or
to see Cat.
when I went to see my one of my very best friends in the world, like Cosmic
Yeah.
Cat and Jack. And I spent like a few 3 days, I think, with them, and we had a wonderful time, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so I had a good holiday. Went back. I went to see my friend Samantha as well, who I'm going to send this to, and you know, I had a great time with her for one night and had a good meal and whatever, and see little Annabelle and whatever. But anyway, so it's time to go home. The day before, we had to go up and have another PCR test where this time the geezer said to me, "Oh no, mate, I've got to stick it right up your bloody uter." And I said, "No, I have it in the mouth, mate." And he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it. And I'll tell you what, he stuck it up so bloody high that tears come to my eyes. It weren't just me. Everyone was bloody fuming, you know. And we had to pay money for that. But then you have to do another passenger locator form, which not a lot of people know, Karen. They think you just do a passenger locator form over here. It's all done and dusted. And then you have to amalgamate the two. You get a code number, which you have to put on your passenger locator form for your test. Well, basically, pretty much the same as going over there. An absolute nightmare. Anyway, with the help of Becky, we managed to do it. And when we sort of like got to the airport, we did notice that sort of like there was 2 old boys there. Now I know this myself because I'm as Karen knows and Kat and everyone, I'm disabled myself. But there was 2 old boys in a wheelchair, like stressing out because they didn't realise they probably had to do this going home, Karen. So they probably got one of them little phones. You remember we all had them, folks. Them stupid Nokias.
Oh, hang on.
A little banana.
Sorry,
It's gone off.
Sorry, I accidentally pressed something and it took me off the pictures.
Right, so where was we? Yeah, so now we sort of like got to the airport after sort of like spending, I suppose, the best part of a couple of hours doing our passenger locator forms and amalgamating it with this stupid PCR test thing. So we got to the airport and we noticed there was loads of people there that didn't know you had to do all this on the way home. There's no one there to help them. You're basically left on your own. And there was 2 poor blokes in wheelchairs sitting there, and I wanted to help them. I really did, but we were so far behind them. They was right at the front, and I'm not sure. There was 2 flights. There was one to Gatwick and one to Manchester, and I'm not sure whether they made their flight or not. Quite possibly they didn't, because they didn't. They probably had their grandson or their granddaughter or something.
So look,
do it
I
for
looked up Portugal, and
Yeah.
look, all it's bringing me really up is a few pictures of Portugal and the flipping football.
Oh right. Well,
let's go to there. I was putting some
so-
holiday pictures. Was it like that, Gary?
oh, beautiful. Portugal is my favourite place in the world. It used to be Greece, but I actually love Portugal. It really is off the scale. The countryside there
Is it
is.
Tartarian?
I haven't seen much evidence of Tartaria, to be honest with you. I have seen some old churches there that might be considered
Is
to
it
be.
more like this one here? Is it more like that?
Yeah, it's pretty much built up now. I mean, especially down the Algarve. But anyway, so you know,
Yes, son.
we sort of like we got on the flight. Loads of people. We see a couple of nice couples like that were struggling to do their sort of like their PLF, their passenger locator form. They ended up doing it because I see them on the flight. But I think those 2 old boys either missed their flight or the Manchester flight I think was going before us. Because the thing is, they were the guys that sort of like had them stupid old Nokia phones, Carrie. You know, probably like they ain't got a clue what a smartphone is, so they didn't know how to do it.
So
But no one tells them.
There should be these things. You know, they should. I mean, I know that they know a lot of us use mobile phones nowadays, but
There should be accommodation for older people.
Not just that, there should be these things at the airport where even if they've got to buy hundreds of these little screens, and we go do, and you can't take them.
Well, there should also be.
They're strapped to something.
There should be a desk there to accommodate for people, especially Portugal, because a lot of the older generation go there.
No, it's not real.
Eh?
But that's why we know it's not real.
I know. But no, listen, basically, there should be some sort of desk or something. You know, like you get a Ryanair desk or an Easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
desk.
I have a problem.
I don't know.
Broken.
I don't know how to do this. Can you help me, please? Because
Or my
I was
phone's
born.
broken.
Yeah, or my phone's broken. I mean, that's another thing as well.
How to do it.
This is another contradiction. We've all had it where your phone just goes off. I've had it before where for some reason the blinking thing's just gone off or something, because at that particular moment, I don't know if you know about a lot of lithium batteries. I know a lot about batteries, and sometimes when they go, they don't just suddenly decrease in their chargeability. Sometimes they just go bang and they just go off. So what does that poor person do? So they can lose all their data. And we were saying this.
You know what?
We'll put it this way, Karen.
We saw it for ourselves yesterday.
Well, listen, we
were in the middle of this thing, and what did we see outside the shop? What did you point me to? Outside the shop, outside Tesco's, on the floor.
Oh, there was masks. There was masks everywhere. All people discard masks.
We didn't take our phones.
We didn't take our phones, but the thing is, we see discarded sort of like masks everywhere. So no one comes to clean them up or anything. But back to sort of like
part of the pavement now.
Yeah, I mean there should be a situation whereby you can also do it on paperwork for the older generation, and not just on smartphones. Because listen, we must be. I'm approaching 61 now, and I won't give Karen's age away because I might get a clip round the ear.
I'm much younger than you, Karen.
Much younger. I'll get a clip round the ear. But my point is, there should be facilities. Yeah, but the thing is, I know people my age, Karen, that don't even know how to use a smartphone.
My mum and dad aren't into it.
Yeah, so there should be a way that accommodates people like that.
Computers and phones. They're not into all that.
Yeah, it's not fair. Because I know most of the people that are gonna hear this, like say, oh, gal, you know, we can all do it and all that, but when you get older, like, you know, your brain cells do deteriorate, and I can't do things I done a few years ago on the phone. Well, it's because,
you know, like, if I get something now, say it's a new computer, I mean, well, I can't right now because I'm on my own, but I usually go, here's the manual, tell me how it works. Yeah. It's so detailed, it's like, I can't read all that, it's just too much.
Well, I mean, it's like, years ago, I used to sort of like...
You don't even know what... Like, for instance, I don't think people realise that they're even... You know, because everything's so detailed and everything's so long, they're probably not reading all the little print either that they're signing to.
There was a time when I used to soak up things so quickly, I could look through a little manual like, and then it'd be embedded in my head and put it together. But when you get older, it gets more difficult, and they don't allow.
I don't think because you wear glasses, don't you? I think that doesn't help you either.
But you know something though.
That makes you feel a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But there's not. They don't want people that can't use computers or older people to go away anymore. I really, because it's the same. It's the same in public houses, Karen. Where I live, I went into the public house and I said, can I come in? And he said, no, mate. He said, you got to do it on the app. And I said, well, can I just come in? He said, no. And I said, well, what about where I live? A lot of people ain't got a clue how to even switch a blinking computer on or a smartphone. They've got like the old little Nokia things.
What's your sister like, for instance?
She's great. She's fantastic.
On
she's
the
really
computer?
Good. Fantastic, off the scale. But I mean, you know, as people get older, it can get more difficult. And my mate can't do it at all. And there's not an accommodation now for people. They're trying to make it into like a robotic and Android blinking world where you have to, unless you can use a smartphone.
You we were robots, though, didn't I?
Yeah, you said we were robots
of some kind.
So yeah, we are. So anyway, the thing is, my point about this all, it's all so contradictory. Everything. It's like they don't accommodate for people that can't do this kind of stuff. It's not right. It's terrible. And I mean, my mum, God rest her soul, was gone now, and she couldn't. I'll give you a little story. Like my mum, one of my sister's friends sat with her all day long to teach her to how to send a text, Karen, and then she still couldn't get it. But you know
what that's about, don't you? I told you, if I get something new, I want to give the manual to someone else and say, "Can you tell me what it says?" Because my brain wants to switch off.
Well, no, I mean my mum found it very difficult.
That's what I mean. Your mind doesn't.
If she was alive now, she'd be in her early 80s, like, you know. And I think the older generation do find it more difficult because they weren't, like, you know, my mum lived through the war.
Well, my son's generation and that, they're all into phones. Everybody.
Exactly.
Really are.
But anyway,
our generation isn't so much.
It doesn't even stop there, because when we got back to Gatwick, you got to go all through the same rigmarole again. There was a queue a mile long, and a guy comes up and checks that you got your sort of like your PCR test, on the phone. Of course, it's all on the phone again, which is the same thing. It's not written
So
down.
it just shows you, doesn't it? Like
So it just shows you. So if your phone goes wrong,
you've got an extra hassle. Going away, you've got this extra
oh, this
hassle.
is well, like I said, if your phone goes all of a sudden, you've had it because there's nothing written down. So anyway, they go through your passenger locator form, and then when you get to sort of like customs, they go through all this again, and then me and my friend got through, but a lot of the rest of our party didn't get through because they had something wrong. There was something wrong on
their form.
On the phone, and they was held up there for an hour. And when we eventually got through, like I said the next thing now, just wait and see, the customs people were going to pull us up. And I wish I wouldn't have said that, but I knew they were gonna. I just had a funny feeling. I see them looking, and they pulled us all up like, and emptied out all the bags like, and no one was carrying anything like. I mean, you know, a little bit of baccy and what we know, but nothing untoward. But the moral of this story is, folks, if you want to go abroad at your peril, because it's not like the holidays we used to know. Because I'm sure I'm speaking to a lot of people out there that, as this has all progressed, have not been abroad. Have not been abroad. But I'll give you, I've even got another little story, right, connected to this. When we was over there, everyone was trying to get flights home on the Tuesday, which was still on the green listing, right, Karen? So basically, you go home on a Tuesday, you don't have to hibernate, self-hibernate. You know what I mean? That we've got to say that. You don't have to self-hibernate. That sounds a ridiculous thing. There's a reason for saying that, for obvious reasons. You know, if people watch Karen's channel on a regular basis, you've got to be careful what you say. We're getting strikes and whatever. Anyway, you've got to self-hibernate. But we couldn't get any flights on the Tuesday, but we all come home on the Wednesday. But one of our party tried to go home on the Tuesday because he didn't want to self-hibernate. We all come home and we had to self-hibernate. Whether we did or not, that's another question. You know, we'll leave it to your imagination. I mean, what do you think? But anyway, people do come to the door. That is another thing as well. If you hear people turn around and say to you, they don't come to the door. My friend, she was just, I said to her.
When you got back, you mean?
When we got back, I turned around and said, "Oh, don't worry, love." I said, "No one's going to come to the door. Bugger me." I said, "So I'm going to go over the road, girl." I said, "All right then." She was walking out the door, like, and a bloke knocked on the door. She was going out and check to see if she was like self-hibernating. I had one phone call the very first day, but no more. But people do phone up. I mean, some people get as many as like 2 or 3 phone calls, and people coming round all the time. But this gets even stranger. We got home, and I was around my sisters, and she was telling me about my nephew's wife's stepdad. He goes golfing all the time with a party of 15 over in Portugal, and they was over there the same time as us. Him and 5 of his party, Karen, managed to get a flight home on the Tuesday, but they had to pay £500 for it. £500 each to come home. So anyway, they thought, oh great, this is brilliant. We've got home and we don't have to self-isolate. About a day or two later, they got a track and trace sort of like message on their phone. You're not allowed to leave your house. You've got to self-hibernate for 10 days because someone on the flight supposedly tested positive, and even the air crew had to self-hibernate as well. So he spent I don't know if you know, like a monkey like is 500 quid. They spent a monkey, 5 of them. So you're talking about like, what my maths are like, it's 2,500 pounds. So it's like, so they spent all this money like to come home early, and it was a waste of time because they still have to self-hibernate. So even if you think about going away in the next like month or two, because you're in like the Balearic Islands and Canary Islands and Malta and these other places like are going into a green listing, have it at your peril that don't mean anything. Because if you're over there and someone, whether it's real or not is immaterial, if someone tests positive on your flight, 2 days later they can get in contact with you and say, oh, someone on your flight like was positive.
I know, I thought about that when we went to the restaurant because they took my car registration number for the car park, they said.
So if someone gets found positive,
got your car
they know they've got your details. It's got your details. So my point is, be very, very careful about, like, you know, I know everyone wants a holiday. I mean, I feel quite guilty about going when I know all you folks out there like haven't gone. But I'm just saying, if you do go with the knowledge.
What did it make you feel like?
What, going on holiday?
When you came back, what did you say to me?
I said it was like it wasn't no fun. It was great over there, but the rest of it, the actual travelling, was a nightmare. It was like being in bloody prison. That wasn't enjoyable. Anyone that does
you didn't
it,
want to do it again.
no. To be honest with you, I don't wanna do it again. And this ain't going to change. I mean, a lot of people I know are saying, "Oh, don't worry, Gal. In a year's time, it's all going to change back to normal." It ain't. They're making too much money out of it, folks. They're making fortunes out of this, out of sort of like these tests and whatever. And like I said, if any of you want to go on holiday, you've got to sit down with your other halves and explain what I'm telling you here, because I've been through it. Try and sort of like, but you know, you might be better off. I know the weather ain't so fantastic. You might be better off going for a week or two in Cornwall, because at the end of the day, you're going to go through all this, and then if you still do it, you're going to come back and you're going to email Karen or whatever and say, "Bugger me, that bloke was right. I wish I wouldn't have done it." And they're never going to come off of the.
Is that partly because it feels so intrusive as well? Don't forget, because we haven't had a life like that.
Well, that's right. We don't know.
20 and it's come now.
Yeah.
And it's here. It'll be part of your life.
Well, to be honest with you, maybe if you're,
do you that rain?
Yeah, if you're the younger generation, you know, you might just take it as like, oh well, it's just part of travelling. Whereas we just used to sort of like get our passport. So I mean, many times I've been to places, Karen, I haven't even showed a passport. I've turned up there, you know, I travel alone a lot, like, you know, a bit of a loner, and there's no one there. And I just walk through, you know what I mean? And there's not even abroad. I've just walked through. There's no one there. Now that's all changed. All I'm saying is, even regarding all that, if you don't mind,
strange,
well, if you don't mind going through all that, fine. But you've still got that situation whereby you could be abroad and then go away on a green listing. It might happen. It happens to us. So, say for argument's sake, you book an holiday now to Tenerife, any of you lot, and while you're over there, old Bonzo puts it into an amber zone. You've got to self-hibernate when you come home. You can take a chance, by all means, by going out. I mean, some people say leave your phone at home. But, you know, if the guy comes round to your place and you're not in, he's going to... I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the situation is by that. You'll have to find out from someone it's happened to. I mean, you're meant to get £1,000 fine or whatever. But, like I said, even if you don't mind all the rigmarole at the airports, you've got to put that into your...
And then, do you know something? A passport as well gets used for a lot of identification.
Exactly.
Mine's run out. So
but you've got to put that. You've got to put that into your holiday timescale. I.e., say for argument's sake, you're going away for 2 weeks in Mallorca, Karen. Now, say you and your missus sit down and go, "Oh, that's it. I want to go away for 2 weeks in Mallorca." You've got to accommodate the 10 days after that, just in case. You can't turn out to your boss and say, "I'm definitely going to be back at so and so date." You with me? So even if you don't mind going,
I don't think that many people are going abroad.
No, but I'm just saying, like, any of you that want to go abroad, you've got to take that into consideration. This is why I said.
Oh, look at that place! Sorry, look at that place there.
This is why I said to Karen, I wanted to. Oh,
it's
lovely, isn't it? It's definitely Tartaria.
That's below the ground.
Yeah, it's wonderful, like a big well thing. But anyway, I'm just telling you this because, like, I love you all to bits, and I just want you to sort of like, I don't really go abroad and say, well, I was not forewarned about this. I've forewarned you about it because I've been through it. So even if you're a computer whiz, what I know some of you are, because I watch Karen, like, and she does things that make me head spin, and I know a lot of you have got your own channels do it. But that still ain't going to stop. You know, you might turn around and say, "Oh, blinking hell, gal, I can do it like blindfolded." That still don't stop the fact that while you're over there, you might have to self-quarantine, even if you're still on a green list when you come home. Because if there's one person on that flight gets a positive test when they come back home, right? That's another thing as well. You have to have two more tests when you come home. Then you've all got to self-isolate anyway. So the fact it's just on a green zone, am I allowed to say SHRT? Don't mean jack shit, because someone can be on. So for the first few days, you've got to make sure that everyone on that flight has come back and got a negative test. Because if one person out of 250 or whatever it is, now you see where I'm coming from with this. Now I've been through it, and I know what it's all about.
There's loads of Tartaria out there, some lovely
yeah.
buildings.
Oh, there is. We didn't see them. Oh, there is some of them in Faro.
Sorry, it's not on this, but look at some of these.
There
buildings.
is some in Faro.
Look at these.
But anyway, folks. So that's about it, really. I mean, like I said, everyone wants a holiday, and you know, good luck to you if you want to do it. But just be forewarned about what I told you.
I don't understand, because places like Portugal and that, they rely on. I mean,
they rely on tourism.
I'm not saying holiday's not a big thing in England, like you said, holiday cottages and all sorts of things here. But these places like Turkey, Portugal, Spain, they rely on the holiday makers.
I mean, I suppose the only thing you could do, if you went abroad, you didn't mind going through the rigmarole, and believe me, it's stress on a 100% level, going away and coming home. If there's two of you, you could always say, "Oh, he's ill in bed," or something like that. If you've gone to work and they come round, you say, "Well, is in bed? You know, he's ill. You're not allowed to come into my house," because they're not allowed to step foot in your door. And you can just turn around and say, "Oh yeah, he's in there." You know, I suppose they could turn around and say, "Well, can you get him to shout out?" You could always get one of his mates to sort of like go in there and go, "Yeah, I'm fine." You know, being a ducker and diver I try and think of every little fiddle.
It's horrible that though.
But to think you've got to live like that. I mean, what happens if you both work?
That reminds you a bit of.
What's that?
Second World War.
Yeah, but just imagine if you both work. Yeah.
Do you know what my fear was?
Yeah.
That in history, in years to come, we'll have had this war that never was, but it will be all this is going to be turned into a war.
Well, we're at war now. We're just the Third World War, obviously. We're the enemy. No, but like I said, I'm not trying to turn you off, guys, because you know you can think, oh, it's all right with you, like you've been away, like I haven't. But I'm just forewarning you about what can possibly happen. So I don't want you to sort of like come back and then go, oh my God, I wish Gary never told us all the possible things that could have happened. I've given you the full caboodle, which could happen and has happened, because like I said, there was a guy that went away on a even though he come back on a green list because someone was positive. A few days later he had to self-isolate anyway. So listen, if you got enough money to have a month off of work, you can go away for 2 weeks and it don't matter. Go and enjoy yourself. You know, I ain't got no money, like if you got a load of money, you can do it. If you won the lottery or something, it doesn't matter, does it?
Oh, I know. There's something you're going to mention.
What's that?
The controversy of the fact that none of those footballers had to do it.
Oh yeah, well this is. Oh, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Now this is a real contradiction. This one, I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm going down to watch a football in a minute, and I'm going to get a slap round the head from Karen because she said, "Oh no, you're not watching football again, are you?" But anyway, I don't know if you know, but there's 2,500 people going to the European Cup final whenever that is in a couple of weeks' time or whatever. Like the Euro Championships are on now. 2,500 are going there. They don't have to quarantine like we all have to do and whatever. And no one's chirping up about it. I mean, the papers should be full of it saying what? You know what I mean? How comes like?
Yeah, but they're not selling. The story's being sold to us.
The story's being sold to us, but the thing is, people have got to chirp up and say no. You know, why is it one rule for them and one law for us?
Maybe that's one of the reasons so many people went marching yesterday, because they all can see the.
They can see the contradictions. Now, I'll give you another little example. I know that
children definitely did. They were more. I don't mean because it was very, very peaceful and the children were great, but if you like, all the children were like quite prominent yesterday. Those little girls with
there was
signs,
loads, weren't there?
The
There was
little
loads.
boys shouting freedom.
Yeah.
I was really pleased to see that there was children doing it.
But another thing as well, this Billy guy that worked for Billy Gilmore, I think his name is, that plays for Scotland, was found positive. Well, you know, the 2 matches before he was found positive, or whatever matches there was, can you imagine anything worse? Like if it was all real, what we've been saying of 11 sweaty people in a changing room after a match. You know what I mean? We're sort of like,
but all sportsmen are strange because they're all,
they're all cuddling
yesterday, and they're all cuddling.
Exactly, they're all cuddling each other like after a match, all sweaty.
I mean, what it is we want to see a reality like that, but how come they're allowed to do it and we're not?
And this is the contradiction again. Now, the thing is, a nursery closed because one of the kids was someone very close to me. The nursery closed because one of the kids was positive at the nursery, and then all the kids had to go home for 10 days. Now, if I was one of the mothers or the fathers, I'd turn and I said, whoa, 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 hold your little horses there. How comes the footballers are allowed to get away with it? And this is what we're saying. We can spot the contradictions, folks. But we want this. Listen, I know all you lot out there hearing me, and you say, "Yeah, Gal, we know that." Like I said earlier in this podcast, we want them out there to say it now. We want to stand back, fold our arms, like, you know what I mean, and have a cup of Rosie Lee, and we want them to say it. We can see it. We want them to say it because it's all out there. It's in abundance to see. And we want people to.
It's just, you know, like today, I was a little bit moany-groany in the restaurant about, I moaned to the waitress.
Yeah.
I tried to make sure that I was being heard. Oh, it's a load of rubbish, it's all fake. But we're put in these situations, and then when you get there, you just see how stupid it all is. Masks outside on the floor.
Exactly. And to be honest with you,
half a dozen people can handle your plate and everything, but you can't, and it's all supposed to look like you're supposed to be in this procedure that they've set up to do with the rules, but all these people are breathing. If they're not breathing, they're holding your plate. And whereas before it was just the guy, you know, the guy who was cutting, who wasn't wearing a mask, he would just pass you your plate. Only you have your plate. Now you've got to go through at least 2 more people.
Exactly. So the thing is,
it's all contradicting.
Even like if you take
that's what annoys me. Those kind of things.
If you take this current situation, which we can't mention, out the equation altogether, that don't sound very, like, to me, a very safe thing to do. It sounds very unhealthy to sort of like pass a plate around, and none of them were wearing gloves, were they?
No, none of them had gloves on.
So they were passing a plate around. So say for argument's sake, listen, I'm going to say something here, and you're going to say, oh my God, Gal, I don't know how you can think that, but I've known people in the restaurant trade. And sometimes they go to the loo and they're busy, and they don't wash their hands. So that person might have come back and they're handling your plate without like gloves on. So even without this current thing,
do you know what?
It's completely unhealthy.
I can't complain because I don't want them, or even now with gloves and even more things on. And it'll get even more complicated.
But the thing
is, they'll make it worse.
Yeah, but the thing is, Karen, no,
just to go for a
we're
meal.
We're just going for the contradictory aspect of it. About how many people was handing our plate, and then she walked it over, didn't she? She walked up because I went up. I was a greedy piglet. I went up.
Don't forget, we had another person bring our cup of tea. So that's another person.
Another person as well.
Been touching stuff that you're drinking.
But then also, if you remember, like, I mean, I don't. You that are out there that know me, like people like Kat and whatever, are going to laugh about this because I do tend to eat a lot. When I was up Cats,
Gary had 2 plates. I hadn't finished one.
When I was up Cats, I think I had about 8 slices of toast one morning. But anyway, I had two plates of blinking vegetables. Karen only had one, like, but
it was a bit more heaped. But Gary had finished his, and I hadn't even finished one.
I know, yes, you're very slow, didn't you?
And you had to go and queue up for it. And
I had to queue up again, and I see my friend again, and he looks at me. He ain't got a very good memory, like, because he said to me, "What meat do you want?" And I said, like, "No, mate, I'm the vegan man again." So he handed me over a plate, which he got out of another. That was the part I like. They've got like a little cupboard, especially just for vegans.
Yeah, because as I was saying, has the washing up liquid got animal fat in it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's absolutely ludicrous. But what made me laugh was he turned around and said to me the first time. He said, "What meat do you want?" And I thought, hello, you need to go a little course, matey boy. If you don't know what a vegan is, now you're never going to know. Oh, it's like a comedy show in there. It really was. It's a shame, like, we never took more sort of like.
But those are just. I mean, obviously the holidays one you've been telling me about because you've been on. But just even going out today, when we went out for the takeaway, that one was a lot more relaxed.
Exactly. Yeah. That
didn't mean they didn't have signs up.
But,
I think there's some signs on the door.
But
but they were a lot more relaxed, and they didn't have those
things
on.
You know something? It was. I mean, this was a lot more relaxed than what I've seen in some places. But
and they had. Don't forget, when we used to go in, you used to go up to the desk. Now you've got to stand behind this thing with a dot on the floor to say "wait here."
Well, I mean, all of you.
Like we're a bunch of babies.
All of you lot know my opinion on this. Have you ever heard that old saying, like the chicken or the egg? Now we've done a show about this before, me and Karen. Well, I spotted this straight away. I don't know if you know, people with Asperger's seem to spot things that other people miss, and then when you tell them, they go, "My God, how comes I didn't see that?" Well, one of the things I first see when I went out the first day, I see printing everywhere, and I said to Karen, I phoned up Karen, and I turned around and said, I know this is gobbledygook already. She said, "Why's that?" And I said, "Because what come first, the chicken or the egg? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's printing everywhere. I said, do you know how long it takes to do all this printing? You're talking about millions and millions and millions of leaflets.
You mean for the beginning of this thing?
Yes. So basically, my point is, if one bit of printing, think about what I'm saying, folks. If one bit of printing was done one day before we was told about this, it's got to be a construct.
But you know it is.
But it's, but we know, yeah. But the thing is, we know it is. But what I'm saying that was done months before and stored in a warehouse, because I used to be in the print trade. I mean, I used to work for Bella Magazine and Woman's Realm. Believe it or not, I used to love it up there. Like in that IPC tower, the bloody birds up there, off the scale. I was younger. I had hair in those days. I was all right. Anyway, we won't go into that. But anyway, the thing is, I know how the printing trade works inside out, and I'm sure some of you out there have worked in the print trade before. They've never thought of this angle. Think about this: millions and millions of leaflets. Suddenly, you know how long it took to sort of like do printing. How long it takes to do printing. Well, you know, you don't do that overnight. Believe me, you have to go backwards and forwards with the proofs.
We already know that when I was looking at it, what it was is somebody sent me a picture. All back to remember the Watts case. I told you I'm not going into that. Yeah. But what it was is we were looking up her because this nurse looked like Shanann Watts, and when I went to her page, it was all to do with nursing and where she worked. And I scrolled down and I scrolled down. It's a video on this channel somewhere. And I got to 2017 and it said that word, you know, see.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say that word.
So it was already out that year. So it was already out ages ago.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So my point is, it has to be.
I thought it was the era we've got into, to be honest.
Well, it has to be. The thing is, it has to be a construct, because that is a brilliant saying. Like, what come first, the chicken or the egg?
What's the name? Era.
We're just living
no,
robots.
The words, you know.
Yeah.
We're that era.
We're in that era, and the thing is, we all know. Listen, we all know that this is a construct. But if you've got some of the people that you know that don't believe in it, turn around and say to them, you know, the first day you went out and went down your local supermarket, wherever else you went, was there artwork everywhere and printing? If they say yeah, say, well, how is that possible? When, like, you know, it takes time to do all these things. You can't just do this overnight.
As I thought, you know, if this,
you can't do it overnight.
Surely the food would. I don't know, because you don't want any more rules and regs. But surely they'd have some things in boxes, so that people couldn't touch them. Do you see what I mean? Like, I just don't.
Well, I've got another.
It's like half the rules are in, but the other we don't want the other.
I think
half.
It was all. I think it was
like
all rushed through.
The rules are missing.
Well, where I live, one of my mates who's away at the moment, like, he's gone. He's a lucky sod. Like, he's met up again with his first girlfriend, which is another story. So I don't see him at the moment. But anyway, I see him all the time. Karen knows about him. Sometimes I have to cut off our story short, 'cause he's got a bit of dementia, so I have to go down and help him with things. But where he lives, like, I was going there one day, and this is about a year ago. And the woman that lives next door, like, her son was visiting. I passed him a paper. And I said to him, "Excuse me, mate, could you pass it through Ken's door?" And he's gone, "Oh no, I'm not allowed to touch that." I said, "Why?" He said it might have whatnot on it. It might be contaminated. So I felt like saying to him, but I didn't want to sort of like turn over the apple cart. I was going to say to him, "Here, mate, do you get mail through the door still, like, and stuff like that?" I said, "Do you know, like, some of my mates were postmen, and they used to sort of like have number ones like up people's walls about washing their hands, like, and posting a letter through." And this is what I'm saying, another contradiction. It's all contradictions. Anyway, Karen, I've got to...
Well, thanks very much for that.
No, so anyway, any
questions?
Any questions from you lot in the chat about the holidays or whatever, just pass them on to Karen, lot, and I'll get back to you. But like I said, everything I said is true as far as I can remember, and like I said, go and enjoy your holidays.
Some of this, you know, some of our economy, every economy is going to have the travel in it.
It's a travel. I mean,
it's a really big part of the economy.
I know.
I mean, lots of people like coming here to see London and all the Queen, but a lot of people who are here like going to Mallorca,
well, you know something?
Spain, wherever it is, Portugal. So it's in and out. There's people coming in and people...
Exactly.
So why would they do this?
Because they're trying to landlock you.
Have you noticed? No mention of the terrorists.
No, there's no mention of terrorists at the moment, and of course, they want you to be landlocked. They want you to stay over here, so you're spending money on this economy, but nothing's open anyway. So that's another ridiculous thing.
What they've all got together and said, well, what we need to do is we need to cut everything off now because we need the money to stay in our own countries. Yeah, but I'm struggling right now because every time I go to a bit of history now, I realise they were Holy Roman emperors, including him.
But
the Heil.
But any
Do you understand
that one, yeah, you've got to be careful what we say there.
What I'm saying is, what's all that about? We're still in it. We're still in the Holy Roman Empire.
Karen, can I go down and watch the football?
Wait quickly. Wait a minute.
I've got a slap round the head.
Wait a minute. What does that mean then? Do you think we're still in the Holy Roman Empire?
I think so. I think the third Reich never sort of like died, and it's still here. It's still here now. We're in the Fourth Reich. But listen, folks. All I can say to you is, go away and enjoy a holiday, but remember all what I said to you, and allow at least 10 days, whatever time you book on holiday, even if it's a green listing of the example I'll give you. Because, some of your other half might turn around and say, oh, look, the Balearic Islands now, they're sort of like on a green...
Put me off ever thinking of going away.
They're on a green list. And I know I sound like a right party pooper, but I'm just telling you the facts.
Even if I had the money, but it's put me off thinking of going. I love going away.
So,
me and Ellie, well, she's a bit old now, she wouldn't come with me, but we went away once or twice a year to places, to Prague, to Ibiza, whatever it was. We had like a long, 4 or 5 days there. We went to a caravan park. And then we had a holiday abroad, or we went abroad twice. But the thought of that now, it's just the whole rules and regs. It's totally
the thing is, I sound like blinking Victor Meldrew, like putting people off. But I'm only just telling you the facts.
What does it mean? For our economies, we need people. I know I said I'm not going, but we need people to go on these things.
Well,
this place here, Portugal needs
the only thing I can say to all you folks out there that were... you might show your other half this, and you're going to turn around and say, if I ever see that Gary lot, I'm going to smack him round the head. What might be an idea is, you was originally booking to go away for 2 weeks. So you book your 2 weeks holiday, book away for 1 week, and that allows you the second week and have 3 days. You've got 3 days more to go.
Not quite the same,
in case. But I'm just saying, Karen, I'm just being realistic because, okay, go ahead and book a holiday for 2 weeks, and if they go through the same situation we went through, then.
So how come you don't have to isolate yourself?
It's not. You mean self-hibernate?
Oh yeah. How come you don't have to do that when you get to Portugal then?
Well, there are countries that you do have to do that. In some countries you do. In Germany now, you have to self-isolate over there for 10 days if you're travelling from England. But all I'm saying is, if you originally was going away for 2 weeks, sit down with your other half and show them this video, and then I know they're going to bloody hate my guts, but they say maybe that bloke's got a point. We was going to go away for 2 weeks originally. I'm brilliant on a computer, love, so that's not a problem. I can put up with the stress at all the airport and all the rest of it. People telling me to wear a mask and one for another.
Did you feel the people were anxious at all in the airport?
Oh, 100%. The anxiety was, you could actually feel it in the air.
Because everybody's frustrated.
You could feel it. You could feel it. But anyway.
So it's like we're being herded in.
Yeah. So instead of going like for.
It's not. Oh. No,
instead of going for 2 weeks, go for 1 week and allow the second week in case you have to hibernate.
I don't really understand why we have to do all these forms, because very often, especially like places like Turkey, what happens is, because the Turkey have got a military government.
But it's all changed.
Wait. Yeah. Every night, the hoteliers have to pass over every passport number of everybody that's staying in their accommodation. Yeah. So they've got all the information they need without any of this.
Well, the passenger locator form is an absolute nightmare, and
that's why you give them your passport numbers.
Yeah, exactly. But
they've already got all the information they need.
But it's all about making money, Karen, with a PCR test. You see, because you have to do all them. And I heard a story of a woman that never done one of them, and a bleeding courier turned up at her door and said, "Oh, you got to do this, and she had to do it there. Wait, so she had to do it. The courier took it back. Otherwise, she was going to get like £1,000 fine. So anyway, folks, I think I'm signing off there. I've got a brilliant one. I'm doing a brilliant one tomorrow. I bought our Karen a really lovely little present, didn't I, Karen?
Yes, you did.
It's it was in a sort of like a fragrance cover, and she thought, oh, Gary's bought me some nice perfume. Or
a box of chocolates.
When she brought it out, it was a book I found
I would laugh.
on Tim Peake. So I've paid £1 for it in a charity shop, and we're gonna do I'm sure you're looking forward to this one, because I'm gonna have a read of it like over the next few hours, like, and then we're gonna do a nice little podcast tomorrow all about Tim Peake and his exploits, and we've got some photographs in there that are so hilarious. It's gonna.
We might have to take pictures of them, and then
I'm gonna take pictures of them and send them to you, and then we're gonna put them up on there.
Okay.
Okay, folks.
But just that bit though, they've got your passport number, so they've got everything they really need. What more do they need?
Don't tell me, tell Boris.
He's not. No.
Well, he's only sort
Do
of.
you know what? I did want to go to the Houses of Parliament yesterday because I actually wanted to stand there going freedom.
But we're both glad we didn't, like, because we're tender in years. Like, my knee was killing me this morning, like, and then must admit, Karen, you was a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't really go out that much. I'm out.
Yeah, she was out of puffing. It don't help her bleeding puffing away. But there you go. I've been nagging her about smoking.
Gary.
It's one. I know.
No,
she's been pretty good. Anyway, folks, I think
thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I know. No, she's been fantastic.
Anyway,
we're signing off for this one, but we've got a brilliant one coming tomorrow that I know you're gonna love, like, about our friend Tim Peake, who's like
traitor.
Who is an absolute traitor, like, and I hope I ever blinking meet him, like, face to face. I'll tell him.
Do you know what? He isn't even a very good actor.
No, he's not even a very good actor. He makes Neil deGrasse Tyson look like Gregory Peck.
Do you remember my video when that person? I've copied it off someone. Oh yeah, I copied it off of Joe, I think, and he's going magic.
Yeah.
Because it's all magic.
Anyway, folks, go and book your holidays and have a jolly good time. Even if you go to the Isle of Man.
But you're not going again.
But I'm not blinking going abroad again because I can't put up with it. I can't put up with the stress anymore at my age. I know the weather's horrendous over here. Maybe I'll start.
Don't forget, they always like to make you think you've got choices, but you don't.
No. The thing is, like, I'm going to go under a sunbed in future. and get the big C. No, anyway, folks. No, enjoy the rest.
That's not funny, Gary.
It's not funny. It's not a joke.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back.
We'll be back tomorrow with a vengeance. I'm going down to watch the football now before I get a slap round the head. Night, folks. See you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.